guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this afternoon's live stream. And already second week of the season and we're in with a massive game. First game of the season at Stamford Bridge sees Chelsea taking on Tottenham in a London derby. Tuchel up against Conte. Spurs looking for their first win at Stamford Bridge in 31 years. So, it's not a happy hunting ground for them. We do pretty well against Tottenham, 4 wins against them last season. In total, 2 in the cup and obviously the league double as well. Tuchel unbeaten in all 7 of his fixtures against Tottenham. So it's not a side that we lose to very often, but Tottenham, a lot of people saying they're kind of dark horses, a lot of pundits, etc., tipping them to come third. This will be a first big test of whether they've kind of got a new mentality, kind of changing the DNA of the club under Antonio Conte, who's been backed massively in the transfer market. So they looked impressive against Southampton, but I mean, that's not too difficult to do. So this will be a big test for us, big test for them. And I'm delighted to be joined by Chelsea Database. Mate, thank you so much for coming onto the channel. Really appreciate you giving up your time. We're going to start with a bit of transfer news first before we get into sort of a bit of analysis around the Tottenham game. I was speaking to you before we come on, we were expecting a big week, Chelsea fans, in the transfer market, hopefully another signing or 2 even if we're being a little bit greedy. But the reality of the situation is things haven't really changed much at all. Well, at least, what's made public in the media. I mean, things could be happening behind the scenes. We know kind of Bowley does do a lot of work behind the scenes. But before we get into the targets, mate, are you a little bit surprised that not really much more has materialised this week?
Yeah, I mean, we've just been hearing the same news that we've heard last week, just said again in different words this week. I think yesterday, Jared Romero said it was supposed to be a long day for FDJ. And nothing's happened yesterday, so it could go on today, but I highly doubt it as well. Honestly, I feel like we're just not going to end up signing anyone, but fingers crossed we do sign at least one.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the key because for me, mate. I mean, Tuchel was saying it earlier. I'll just bring it up on the screen now about the quotes before we go into sort of a few of these targets individually. Is that the one? Let me just find it. I'll find it in a sec. But basically saying that there is a chance that we might not sign anyone else. I mean, this is it. This is the quote here. If we don't sign any more players, then it is what it is. We will not panic. We will not try to sign players if we're not 100%. All signings so far are fantastic signings and will help us. It's day-by-day business now. We still have time. I mean, obviously, yes, we still have time. And, you'd much rather Chelsea do the correct business rather than spending money for the sake of it. Maybe if we have to wait a year for Fofana or we have to wait a year for whoever, then it's better to do that rather than panic buying someone who's not really part of the plans and in the long term. So I appreciate that. But at the same time, mate, would you be of the same opinion of me that, having watched the Everton game, having watched the pre-season, there's a number of areas that if they didn't get addressed, it's a big problem for the remainder of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And we just saw today earlier that Kovacic is injured for the Spurs game, and then that pretty much just takes out our creativity outlet in midfield. So, it's just going to be another frustrating. It could be another frustrating game against Spurs where we're passing sideways and then just crossing it without any passing through the middle. So, I would definitely want someone like FDJ to come in because he allows for depth. If Kovacic is injured, then we can bring in FDJ or, FDJ starts.
Yeah, no, for sure, mate. I mean, on De Jong now, obviously, this is kind of, I guess this is not, probably it's not a priority for Chelsea, De Jong, but because they've kind of been alerted to the situation that he's not keen to go to Man United, Barcelona need to sell someone to get money in. Obviously, their financial crisis is well documented, and De Jong is probably one of their most valuable assets and would command a sizable chunk of money. And I think Chelsea are probably looking at this as an opportunity rather than De Jong being a target. This is more of an opportunity that's kind of unexpectedly presented itself to the club. Obviously, Man United have been training him all summer. He doesn't want to go there. Barca kind of issuing him this ultimatum that it's either take a 50% pay cut or you've got to leave. De Jong doesn't want to leave, as his wife or girlfriend, whichever one it is happy in Barcelona. Doesn't want to leave Barca. He might not have a choice, but he clearly wants to stay there. And despite what we think of Barca, they've got a decent side. I mean, it could be a special side this year, and they could do something half decent. But I mean, on De Jong, from a tactical perspective, I mean, I look at the squad, and in profile wise, I probably think he's most similar to Kovacic that he matches up with. In terms of the profile, he's not really like Kante, he's not like Jorginho, not really like Loftus-Cheek either or Conor Gallagher. If De Jong were to come in, and it's still a big if, how do you see him fitting into that Chelsea midfield? Do you think he just goes straight in and starts in that pivot, or do you think it could signal a formation change? And is it the right profile that the club should be looking at in midfield? Because it's a different profile entirely to Declan Rice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's definitely like, because we do lack creativity, and I can understand why we'd like go in for him, even though it's more opportunistic signing, because we do lack creativity in midfield, and obviously Kovacic gets injured all the time in the season. And I've also saw a stat where ever since he came to Chelsea, he's never played more than 2,000 minutes apart from one season. So Kovacic is basically out for like pretty much half the season. So FTJ can easily. I was looking at FTJ's injury record as well. It's good. So I think he can easily like start. And obviously, I don't think right now he's better than Kovacic. I think Kovacic is the better player. But he can obviously provide competition. And I think he can also offer a tactical change in like formation. I think Tuchel wants to go to like a 4-back in the long run. And I think getting, obviously Fofana is obviously a key one to get into transition to a back 4. But obviously, De Jong maybe playing as an 8 or as a deep line playmaker is also key to do that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'd say the creativity is a big issue. I mean, personally, I just don't feel. Everyone goes on about the attack, and yes, the attack's not good enough. It's not clinical enough. It's not firing. It's been a problem for a number of years, not just since Tuchel's been here, but going back a number of managers now. Yes, the forward players need improving, but I think almost, it doesn't really matter who we have up there. If the supply line's not there to create the chances and put the balls through, then in theory, it doesn't really matter who's there. Yes, okay, there'll be some better finishers than others, but at the end of the day, you could have Haaland up there for us. And if the balls aren't coming through like De Bruyne puts through, then he's not going to score any goals. I mean, I would have loved Haaland at Chelsea, but let's be honest, would he have actually made a difference? Given our current creativity issues, I'd say perhaps not. But I mean, I just don't think we've ever replaced Fabregas or Juan Mata, someone that, can pick a pass. Like someone like a De Bruyne who just picks a pass. Like you see in the Everton game, there's I don't know if you've seen the clip on Twitter, but like, you've got players making forward runs, and instead of playing it, they take a touch or they wait, and then the guy's then offside. There's no one that releases the ball quickly. I mean, it's always recycling possession, passing sideways, not giving the ball away. I'd much rather we gave the ball away a bit more, trying something a little bit more risky, and it pays off, say, 1 in 5 passes, rather than just playing it safe every time and creating absolutely nothing. But I mean, do you think De Jong would answer the creativity issues if he came in the middle of the park? He's not really known as being a creator. I've not looked at his assist numbers at Barcelona, but he's more of a playmaker in that deep lying role. Do you think he could be the answer to getting a bit more creativity from the midfield? Because again, Kovacic is probably our most progressive midfield player, but again, he doesn't necessarily post that decent numbers for assists and goals.
Yeah, I think he's like I think Kovacic and Frenkie de Jong, they're more like second assist, kind of like how Iniesta was, where
the pre-assist.
Like he'll set up the pass for the pass assist, kind of, if you get where I'm coming from. But so I think he obviously doesn't get the numbers to stack up with that, but he'll definitely help us progress the ball through the middle, which is what we do lack. And I think, like on that note where you said about risky passes, I think that is such a big issue. And I'm not sure if the problem is because the players are too scared to lose the ball, so then they have to run back, and they don't trust the guys behind them to quickly recover the ball, or they just don't trust themselves in making that risky pass.
I mean, mate, do you think that's coming from the manager as well? Do you think Tuchel doesn't want players giving the ball away? You hear Jack Grealish at the end of last season, obviously saying it's got to improve, but he was terrified of giving the ball away because of how Pep would react, etc. Do you think? I mean, I'm not saying it's quite that extreme, but do you feel Tuchel's instructing the team? We've got to keep the ball, and they're kind of worried about giving the ball away, or do we just not possess that profile of player in the midfield? But I mean, we've seen Jorginho; he can do a pass. That one when over the top to Tammy Abraham against Watford a couple seasons back. Played a great ball to Kai Havertz last season for that really good goal against Newcastle. He has got it in his locker, but we just don't see it enough.
Yeah, I think the manager does have to play a bit of part in it, because we saw under Lampard how we're really fast attacking, and Jorginho's putting balls in, Kovacic was putting balls in. Like, we were creating a lot and we were scoring a lot under Lampard. And obviously Tuchel came in. He's obviously organised the defense. We were more defensively solid than we were before. So I think what Tuchel is trying to do is that, is this thing where, obviously if we have the ball, the opponent can't score, right? So, having possession is obviously a key factor in trying to control the game, but obviously it kind of has a negative effect in towards our attack, so that we can't exactly like fly everyone forward and then score a lot of goals.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, on De Jong, again, we were expecting news this week. I mean, we were expecting a decision yesterday, apparently, according to like the Barcelona journalists of the Spanish press. There's going to be a decision yesterday. Didn't get anything. There's been nothing today so far. La Liga starts tonight. I mean, this weekend, Barcelona will obviously be playing. There's no news yet. This one seems to be dragging on. I mean, it could be dragging on for a while. What do you expect to happen with this, mate? I mean, for me, if De Jong decides that he wants to leave, then I think it's a pretty straightforward deal for Chelsea too. They'll have no problem agreeing the fee, and they'll have no problem agreeing personal terms with De Jong. It's obviously very much down, just waiting for that decision, essentially. I mean, as things stand now, mate, what do you expect to happen? Because I fully expect, despite all our interest, and I don't think Bowley would be pushing this hard if he wasn't confident that a deal could be done. I still expect him to stay at Barcelona. He probably will. And something about the lure of Barcelona for players that even if they have to take 50% pay cut, even if they get treated so badly, you see De Jong getting booed by fans when he's like driving out of the training ground and whatnot. It's not even his fault. He's got a legally binding contract and whatnot. But how do you see this one panning out, mate? Do you think De Jong ultimately will stay at Barcelona, or do you think we could see him at Stamford Bridge this season?
Yeah, I think he'll stay. I think it's been going for so long now. Like if he obviously doesn't want to get a pay cut, but I think he'll be forced into doing that because he wants to stay. If he didn't want to stay, he would be gone by now. So yeah, I just see him staying. Honestly, it's too long. It's just getting really boring.
Yeah, mate, I agree. No, it's like the Koundé thing, it's like the Rafinha thing, etc. Like, it's just another one that's dragging out. I mean, for me, I don't think, obviously, if De Jong doesn't come, which I think is what we're probably most likely looking at, as we discussed earlier, I mean, I think this is probably a kind of an opportunistic signing rather than a priority. Do you see Chelsea, if De Jong becomes off the table, do you see Chelsea going in for another midfield player, or do you think it's very much that this was kind of an opportunity that unexpectedly presented itself and we've tried to take advantage of it? Because I honestly can't see us targeting another midfield player because we haven't been linked with any in this window at all. I mean, do you think we might go in for someone else, or we'll just leave it?
I think I saw something about like that Nunes guy.
Oh, Matthias Nunes at Sporting, yeah.
Yeah, either him or maybe like Milinkovic-Savic or something like that. But I kind of see those as unlikely. So we probably, like, if we don't get De Jong, I don't think we'll go for the midfielder. We'll just go for Aubameyang and Fofana.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, mate. I mean, moving on to another target. Obviously, attack-wise, we know that we're desperate for more like firepower, I suppose, more goals, more creativity in the front line. The number one target is obviously Aubameyang. Again, I think he's happy to stay at Barcelona. Tuchel's obviously a big fan of the player. He spoke quite warmingly of him in the press conference today. A bit of praise. I mean, apparently, according to Gerard Romero, who I don't know how, I'm not sure how accurate he is, but he's got a bit about him. He's not. I don't know if he's the most reliable, but he's saying that Aubameyang's agents are Oba's agents are meeting with the Barca board right now at the moment, and apparently the operation to London is heating up. I mean, I don't know how true this is because apparently Aubameyang wanted to stay at Barcelona, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. But Tuchel said he enjoyed working with them a lot. It was a pleasure. Some players stay your players as you are very close. Oba is one of those players. Even when we played against Arsenal straight away, it was a close bond. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with this one. I think it's another one that could drag on a little bit. Mate, how do you see Aubameyang fitting into Chelsea's front line if he was to come? Because, again, for me, Chelsea probably looking at, with the amount of money we've spent so far this summer, we're probably looking at short-term fixes in the front line. Someone to come in for a season or two, and then we can address properly the attacking situation. Maybe next summer, we could spend big there potentially. How do you see Aubameyang slotting in if he does? Because for me, he's a great goal scorer. He's scored goals wherever he goes. He's not as versatile as he once was. I don't think realistically he could do a job on the left or the right anymore. I think he's very much down the centre. He will score goals. I mean, how do you see him fitting in? Because for me, I'd much rather have him than Havertz at the moment, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think he's more like poacher now because of his age. So he's like definitely got the movement in the box to complement like Sterling and that. And obviously the missing piece would just be getting the balls into his feet. But I'm not really a big fan of Aubameyang. I think I think someone needs to give Tuchel a calendar, because it's not 2018 or 2020 anymore, because it's 2022, and I'm not sure if he's got like the pace and he's got like the intensity to press that we require him to. So, but I guess he knows Tuchel. He probably knows the system, so he can probably easily settle in. He knows the league as well, so it's not entirely a bad signing, but I can get behind it. But I'm not completely on board.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, mate, I think look, for me, it's one of them where I look at it and think it's a short-term fix. As you say, big pluses. He knows the Premier League. He'll have a point to prove after the way things ended at Arsenal. He scores goals wherever he goes. But again, as you said, the big thing is, will we create enough chances for him to stick the ball in the net? And can Tuchel get something like his best form out of him? Because despite how good a manager Tuchel is, and as Chelsea fans, we love him, and he's, defensively a very good manager. He's improved the defence a lot. He's improved the midfield a fair amount. He hasn't improved any of the attacking players since he's been there. And obviously part of that will be down to him, and then part of that's down to the players as well. But at the end of the day, the manager's got to take some responsibilities for working with what he's got and improving the players that he's got at his disposal. And in the attack, that's just not happened for Tuchel. I mean, mate, why do you think Tuchel struggled to improve the attackers? Because obviously I'm not putting all the blame on him. It was partly his players' responsibility, but it's also a bit down to the manager as well. Are you surprised that he's not managed to get more out of these players? Because yes, we criticise them as fans, but these aren't bad footballers. These are players that have cost tens of millions of pounds. Like, something's not adding up.
I think it's also got to do with like the system is like using at the moment. It's kind of like a deep formation with the three and like the two like DMs we have, and then you have like your wing backs and then like those 10s in the half spaces. It doesn't really complement a lot of attackers like Ziyech, Werner. Werner likes to run in behind, but obviously we're going to come against low blocks. And then obviously Ziyech is much better in like a four at the back and like very wide areas, and Pulisic probably the same as well on the left. And also he's playing Mount in like as a right wing when I think he's more of a midfielder as well. I think the system has to play. I think it plays a part in it, and I think what he's trying to do is, I think he knows that most of the players are, attacking wise, are all they're more suited towards his back four. Because if you look at like midfield, for example, we've got a Mount. He's probably a bit more of a midfielder as an 8. Gallagher as an 8. Ruben Loftus-Cheek even is an 8 as well. Kovacic there as an 8. So I think he knows that, and that's why he wants like another centre back. So he wants to bring in someone like Fofana, so we can easily go into back four, because we can't really do that with Silva. No matter how good Silva is, he doesn't have the legs to cover in like a back four. So I think that's why we play a back three, because of Silva and how good he is, and that's why he doesn't change it. I think you're muted.
The back four is probably somewhere where we will naturally end up in the next season or two potentially. But again, like I see a lot of Chelsea fans thinking like, the back four, we're going to switch to the back four and that solves all the problems. I mean, if it was that simple, we would have already done it and we wouldn't be having these issues in attack. For me, like, yes, okay, the back four might make it a bit easier, but at the end of the day, you take away two of our most attacking outlets and Chilwell and James is much different. You can still get forward from fullback, but you're nowhere near as influential in the attack as you are as you playing wing back. So yes, you get an extra midfield player in there, you potentially get an extra attacker on the pitch, but I don't think switching to a back four makes that much difference. You've got to have the right players for it. Switching to a back four now is no point. What's the point? It's not like we've seen it a couple of times last season. All right, we beat Spurs in a couple of games, but we played it against Palace away. We were dreadful. But a couple of games we've played it and we've been shocking. So we
tried it in the pre-season against Arsenal as well,
and it was awful. It was awful. So I'm not saying like it's not going to happen. I think in the medium term it will happen, of course. But we've got to get that right profile of players. And mate, before we move on to talking about the Spurs game in general, what's been your thoughts about the pursuit of Wesley Fofana? Obviously, seems like he's the main priority now. All the eggs are kind of in the Fofana basket for Chelsea at centre half. 2 bids gone in, been rejected. Leicester wanting at least £80 million, if not a world record fee for him. The language from them has softened a little bit, from he's not for sale, Brendan Rodgers saying the other day, to this week saying that, it's not met our valuation and we're looking not to sell. So there's a softening in the language. I think there is a deal there to be done. At the end of the day, we need him. If we have to pay £85 million or whatever for him, then let's just do it. Let's just get him in. What are your thoughts on this? Is another one that's dragging out. I mean, obviously, deals of this amount of money, there's a lot of sort of boxes to be ticked off, etc. with it. But I mean, I'm hopeful this can be done. What do you think Fofana would add to this back line if we bring him in? Because he's got obviously so much potential, 21 years of age, versatile, can play in all positions across the back line, and he could be our centre back for the next 10 years. I mean, are you a massive fan of this move if it comes off?
Yeah, he's a very talented defender for his age as well. I think my only issue with him being obviously he came from like a long-term injury, so I'm not sure if that would how much that would affect his like his performance like in the future, especially like if we buy into this season, will he be able to replicate what he did in the 2021 season where he was really good in the Prem? We don't know, and we're buying him with so much money. There's gonna be everyone's gonna expect him to do well. There's gonna be that pressure on him. Can he take it? Not many people can. Like I think it's proven. Like a lot of the record signings, they don't usually come off. You see Grealish, he's not really performing. Lukaku kind of failed as well. Pogba, Harry Maguire. So I guess it's just we just have to wait and see, I suppose, with him. You moved again.
We could use one more central defender. If you look at the numbers, the profile of the guys in a back three is a little different. So we're also playing with Aspie, who is more of a fullback. Let's see. Mate, do you think it's essential we do get one more centre back in? I mean, because to be honest, yes, okay, Cucurella's come in, predominantly a left-sided player, can fill in that left centre back in a three. Mate, do you think it's essential we get one more in, or do you think we could be okay with using Cucurella and Aspie to fill in there? I mean, personally, I'd probably like one more, but I don't think if we had to wait a year to get Fofana, I'd rather wait a year for Fofana and get by with what we've got. We've missed out on so many targets. I don't really know who else would be knocking about. Maybe return for someone like Skriniar potentially. But, I mean, mate, do you think we 100% need another centre-back?
Yeah, I think we do need another centre because we've also got to remember like Silva as well is like 38 in next month in September. So he probably could play all the games, but I don't think it's ideal for him to do that. I think we should try and like keep him fit and like keep him for the bigger games where he can perform. If Silva gets injured, then we only have Koulibaly and then Cucurella. So we're gonna end up having like Cucurella, Koulibaly, and Aspie, and that's just I don't think I trust that back line. So yeah, I do want another centre back. It's kind of late now, like 12th of August, so we kind of get into the stage where
about 3 weeks of the window left, just over.
Yeah, and I can see this deal again dragging across next week as well. So I guess it's just him or no one. So I'd rather him.
Yeah, mate, 100%. I mean, yeah, that pretty much rounds out the transfer news. It's a bit of a quiet one. Not too much going on at all. Really, it's a bit disappointing. Hopefully, maybe things will heat up over the weekend and into the start of next week. But we do need some transfer news. The days are counting down to the window closes. But mate, moving on to the Spurs game then. This is a big game, first game of the season at home, London derby. Antonio Conte, former manager, coming back with Tottenham. As I touched on at the top of the show, Tottenham have got a terrible record at Stamford Bridge. We've got a very good record against Spurs in general. We generally tend to beat them. But something maybe a little bit different about Spurs this time. Conte's had, it's his first full season here now. He's been back to the players that he wants. That attack is lethal. Son, Kane, Moura, Kulusevski, Richarlison they've added over the summer. It's definitely a lot better than ours. Obviously, there's still that mentality around Spurs. I mean, mate, just in general, how do you see this game going? Because yes, as Chelsea fans, we're always confident that we'll beat Spurs, but this Spurs is a little bit different. Would you agree with that? There's something a bit more about them. They seem to be, they're a very good counter-attacking side. Conte's got them well drilled. They line up in that back three that we play as well. Are you concerned at all heading into Sunday?
A little bit, but not really, just because of our record, and we somehow always find a way to beat him anyway. Because Spurs are terrible, but not in that sense. They are a good team, especially I think they're a better team than I think they're better than us. I think they'll get like third at the end of the season, but I think in a sense where like our record, it kind of just goes beyond like the quality of the teams and the manager himself. I think we are just going to end up beating him again at the Bridge. I think I saw a stat where we haven't lost since 2018 to them. So
yeah,
I think it'll be the same again. I think worst case scenario we just draw like 1-1, but I don't think we'll lose.
No, I don't think we'll lose either. I know it's only second game of the season, mate. But do you think this is a kind of a big statement game already at this early stage in the season? If we beat Tottenham, then we're kind of, reaffirming that we're kind of the number one team in London. First home game of the season. You want to get off to a winning start at home as always. But if a win for Spurs, that would give them a huge psychological lift as well, getting over that Stamford Bridge curse, and maybe it could show them that maybe we can compete with the top sides this season. I mean, this is realistically, mate. This is must not lose for us, isn't it? Obviously, we'd love to win, but I think the key thing is to avoid the defeat.
Yeah,
that's sort of sounding obvious.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people have written Chelsea off this season.
Yeah, loads, mate.
Like saying that we're going to come fifth or even sixth, and I don't think that's true. In this, I don't think that's true. I back we come fourth. So I think, especially if we don't lose this game, I think people will come to the realization that we're still a good team and we can still do it. So it's not just, like, if you even just look at a team that we pretty much have the same team that won the Champions League. We just added in Sterling, we added in Cucurella, and I think, in my opinion, we upgraded on Rudiger and Koulibaly. So I think we've got a good team, and we can easily beat him.
Yeah, no, mate, I would agree. I think we can definitely beat them. Where do you think the key areas are going to be for Sunday? Obviously, we know Spurs got a very good front line. We're going to have to be defensively bang on it. The midfield battle could be key as well. Obviously, as we touched on, no Kovacic, so it's probably likely to be Jorginho and Conte again up against Bentancur and I can't remember who else Spurs have in the middle now. Forgotten about that.
I think it's Højbjerg.
Yeah, Bentancur and Højbjerg. Yeah. That's going to be kind of a physical battle in the middle of the park there. But where do you see the key areas of the pitch? Obviously, for us, it's going to be keeping Kane and Son quiet, and Kulusevski as well, who's had a phenomenal start to his Premier League career. I mean, how do you envisage that going? We just got to nullify the counter-attack, basically. Yeah,
I mean, I think we can expect Tottenham to kind of like sit back a bit and just wait on the counter while we dominate the possession. So I think if that's gonna happen, we're gonna need like fast centre backs. So obviously we need to cancel out Son and Kulusevski. I don't really trust Aspie against Son.
No.
Yeah, so I would probably put Koulibaly there, and then Cucurella left centre back against Kulusevski, and obviously Silva in the middle. I think that should have enough pace to cover that ground to stop the counters. But then also, is Chilwell ready to play left wing back again? Because we saw him against Everton, he wasn't really up to the mark.
He played 60 odd minutes, didn't he? I don't know if he'll start again or not. I would probably bench him, but we'll get into that in a second. A team, but yeah, it's keeping Kane. I mean, Kane does score goals. We know he does. Son's a phenomenal goal scorer as well. I think they've got the capabilities to keep them quiet for sure. But mate, again, this is so important that we win to get off to a winning start at home, because were you surprised last season how poor our home form was? Over the years, you've had such a great record at Stamford Bridge, but last season we didn't win many games there. We dropped so many points. It's crucial that changes this season.
Yeah, I actually don't know why that was. I think I saw a lot of people at the end of last season. They're blaming the pitch because it was too small, and we needed a bigger pitch so we can create a lot more and stretch the opponent. I was just like, I don't think that's entirely true. Like, of course, a bigger pitch would help us in terms of when we're dominating possession. But I don't know what it was. Honestly, I think we kind of just lacked that. I think when the injuries occurred, because we were right at the start of the season, but when the injuries occurred with Chilwell and then James, and then we had a little Lukaku incident. I think that kind of just killed our momentum, and then we kind of just like fell off. Yeah,
no, I would agree, mate. I mean, it's a strange one. I don't really know why. It was just against the big sides, we weren't too bad, but it was just the draws against Everton's, Burnley's, Man United's. We dropped so many points at home, and like you look at it, I'm not saying obviously we weren't going to come in the top two or anything like that, but. You look at it and you think all those drop points at home, yes, we were 20 odd points off, but if we just turned a few of those into wins, that we could have been 10 to 12 points off. And then we're thinking, well, we're not actually too far away. But as it stands, we are still quite a way off challenging. But mate, let's get into a lineup for tomorrow then. Obviously, I've got it up as the standard 3-4-3. For you, mate, obviously standard in goal in it. Edouard Mendy starts between the sticks. Not really much of a discussion to be had there. I mean, what have you made of Mendy's form? Because obviously, back end of last season, there was a few errors. He didn't have the best pre-season, but he's still clearly Chelsea's number one keeper.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great shot stopping. I think he made some good saves against Everton, but his main problem for me is his distribution.
It's poor, isn't it?
It's terrible, man. Like especially when we're trying to play a possessive game and then we need to use the keeper to escape the press. He's not it. But I think I think he'll do for now. But I think we need to look for like the future for his replacement.
Mate, I would agree. I think he's okay for now, but I think it's an area that you look at. If we're going to win titles like we've had with Cech and Courtois, I'm not saying Mendy's not good enough, but I think it's a position you could look at and think, yeah, maybe we could do a bit better there. But I agree with you, mate. I like him, and he's good enough for now, certainly. But I think in the future, I think it's a position we could potentially look to upgrade on. Mate, there's a few options in the back line tomorrow. Obviously, you could go with the same lineup that we had against Everton, Aspie, Silva, and Koulibaly. I think for me, mate, there's a couple of options here. I'd be interested to get your thoughts. Potentially playing Reece James at right centre back to nullify Son and have Loftus-Cheek filling in that right wing back hybrid role. Or, as you said, mate, we switch Koulibaly to the right-hand side and play Cucurella at left centre-back. What do you think is most likely to happen? I mean, I think Tuchel is probably going to pick Aspie again, but I think it could be wise with Son's threat to either switch Koulibaly there or put Reece James there. I mean, what would you be looking to go for?
Yeah, I mean, he did like a tactical change against them in January when he played them 3 times. He played like a 4-2-2 against them. And that worked well. So I'm not sure if he'll do the same again there. And then I think because if he does do like a 4-2-2, I think we could see like Loftus-Cheek in, because we'll defend in a 5 usually, but like it'll be like it's kind of hard to explain. So like if you line up with a back 4, like let's say it's like Cucurella, Koulibaly, Silva, Reece James, right?
Yeah.
That effectively and then. So in the 4-2-2, that's our back line. And then I think Loftus-Cheek will kind of come into that like right-sided cam area. Yeah. And then obviously if we defend in the back 5, Loftus-Cheek can come back. And I think that can just help with the Son pace situation, because we know that Kane, what they do is they use Kane as like this hold-up play. He'll drop in and then he'll send the ball over to Son and making a run. And obviously, if you have someone like Aspie there who doesn't have the legs to cover that ground, he's just not going to look good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, mate, what are you thinking then? Would you go? Obviously, Thiago Silva is going to play central. So it's going to play in the middle of that 3. That's obvious. Do you think it's more likely to be Cucurella playing left centre back and then Koulibaly switching out to the right and keep Reece James at fullback? I'd probably be more inclined to do that. Do you think is that what you'd go with if you were picking the team?
Yes, Cucurella there and Koulibaly on the side.
Koulibaly switching to the other side, yeah. I just think that gives us a lot more defensive stability. Yeah. Aspie's obviously a great player, but I wouldn't fancy him defending against Son. And I think if he tuck Reece James into right centre back, which, okay, fine, he can definitely do a job there, but we're then removing one of our biggest attacking weapons, and we're not that great in attack anyway. So we need all the help we can get. And whilst Ruben can definitely get up and down that side, it's not really possessing the same attacking outlet that Reece James has. So I mean, I think that's the best option to go with. Having said that, then that kind of the fullbacks pick themselves. Obviously James, and we'll see Chilwell again from the start. Obviously he'll be a bit fitter, having got those minutes in them against Everton and another week of training under his belt. Mate, I mean, just quickly on Reece James, mate. Obviously he was a little bit underwhelming against Everton. Just down to a sort of a bad day at the office. No concerns for you over him?
Yeah, I think it's just, first game back. Obviously, I don't think the whole squad is ready anyway. So
no.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with his corners as well. It was dreadful.
Mate, anyway, dreadful. Mate, I've never seen us have so many corners in a game, and virtually, I think we wasted every single one. Either didn't beat the first man, or just went straight over the top. But
yeah, I don't know why he never changed it, or like at least put Mount on them or something. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's just a bad day. I think James is still a quality player.
For sure, mate. He's still one of our most important outlets, and then Chilwell as well. Again, just getting back to fitness. I mean, again, if he can get say another hour or so or 70 minutes under his belt, then it's all building back to the fitness. And again, he's probably our best left-sided player. But mate, how good is it now that they've got Cucurella in the side? So there's not that pressure on Chilwell that he's got to instantly return to top form, because we've got a more than capable deputy in Cucurella who can also fill in there and looked very good against Everton when he came on. I mean, how pleased are you with the Cucurella signing? I think it's a phenomenal signing.
Yeah, I think like for me, he was like probably like the second best left back in the league, behind Cancelo.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't have the numbers in terms of assists, but he's playing for Brighton. So, but in terms of like his passing, creating chances, he was brilliant. So it's definitely good depth, provides good competition. And what really annoys me in like Twitter, like people say like, oh, we shouldn't go for Cucurella because because he's going to be a backup. We can use Emerson. Like, are you kidding me?
You can't
He's
use
terrible.
Emerson, mate.
Yeah.
Tuchel don't even rate Emerson anyway. He sent him on loan last season and kept Alonso over him, and then he doesn't even. And then in pre-season, Emerson was used at left centre back in every game.
Yeah, exactly. So, and with the Cucurella thing, we kind of cover like two positions with one player because he could play left wing back, he could play left centre back as well in three. So it's a smart signing. I think the price is fine. It's 55 million plus 7 million add-ons, but people like to add in the add-ons even though they haven't actually taken into effect.
Yeah, mate, this is an annoying thing, and then people don't also realise that in transfer fees, you very, very rarely pay the whole lot up front. So that's not been a 55 million outlay this summer. So, like, I don't get it. But, mate, I think that's probably our best bet in the back line for tomorrow. That's what we'd go with. I mean, personally, mate, I think Tuchel will probably play Aspie. I think he'll play the same back line that played against Everton. Only change maybe he might bring Cucurella in, but I mean, I think that's the best way of combating Spurs' threat on the counter attack and their front line, which is very, very dangerous. I mean, moving into midfield, mate, we touched on it earlier. Obviously, Kovacic injured again. Mate, how concerned are you, by the way, with Kovacic's injury record? Like, the guy's missing a lot of games. I mean, if it wasn't for Conte constantly being injured last season as well, this would have been more of a discussion point. But how concerned are you that Kova, who obviously, by all accounts, is probably our best midfield player, he's always injured?
Yeah, like the guy is just made of glass, honestly. Like it's we have such an injury-prone midfield. Maybe apart from Jorginho, a little bit, but Kante and Kovacic always injured, and that's our main two or main alongside Jorginho. And if they're out, then who else do we play there? I mean, I don't think Gallagher is a pivot player. I don't think Loftus-Cheek doesn't. I think that's suicide if you play him in a pivot. I don't think that new Carney guy. I don't think he's ready to play either.
No, he might be. He might be on the bench. I think maybe this weekend. But he definitely won't start. I mean, I just found something now that Kovacic since the 1920 season has missed 210 days through injury. It's too much, isn't it? Like, for me, it's all very well having these top players in your team. There's no point having them if they're never fit to play. Like, it's the same with Kante. Kante, all right, not going to the States might have actually done him a favour this summer, this pre-season. Bit more time to rest and recuperate and whatnot. But, like, his injury record as well. Kante, phenomenal player on his day. Always injured. There's no point having these guys if you can't be fit to actually play on the pitch. I mean, it's getting a bit frustrating this now with Kovacic. There's going to be some players that are obviously a lot more injury prone than others, but with his injury record, it almost, for me, seems that we actually do need another midfield player this summer because Kovacic this is not going to be the only injury. He's going to pick up at least another one or two injuries this season. I mean, with midfield, I said not really a priority, but I think with Kova's injury record and Kante's injury record as well, I think another midfield player could be essential.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. Like, I think even if they're all somehow fit throughout the whole season, like, I think it just provides good competition and good depth.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the City team in their midfield, we know Kevin De Bruyne is their main guy in midfield. But if he gets injured, they can easily just put on Gundogan or Bernardo Silva if he stays. Whereas with us, if Kovacic is gone, who's our next midfielder that's going to be creative enough like him? We don't have anyone. So
no, we've got no one.
Yeah.
This is a problem, but mate, tomorrow, I mean, with Kovacic injured, this pivot picks itself, doesn't it? Kante and Jorginho. I mean, mate, are you worried by a severe lack of creativity, particularly in a home game? A severe lack of creativity coming from this midfield? Because let's be honest, these guys are good footballers, but creativity is not their number one forte whatsoever. I mean, do you envisage this being a problem on Sunday, having those two in the middle of the park? Because, yes, we'll be defensively fairly solid, but they're not really going to offer anything going forward. And that's one thing in the midfield that we just lack energy and we lack creativity massively. And I think this could be an issue because Kante and Jorginho aren't really going to feed the attack.
Yeah, like especially like Spurs are going to sit back. we're gonna need to move the ball a lot quicker, and that's obviously where Kovacic, like ideally, he would come in. And Jorginho and Kante, they're not really that quick and precise in their passing. Obviously, Jorginho, he has he has got good passing on him, but I think he needs the time and space in order to do that. And with Kante as well, I think he's more of like a ball carrier, bringing the ball forward, running instead of passing. So yeah, I think it's just going to be like a sideways game where we kind of get it to Chilwell and James, and then they just kind of cross it in.
Yeah, I think so. That for me, that's obviously going to be the midfield too. It's the two you'd go with, as we said. Chukwuemeka probably be on the bench. Mate, what are your thoughts on Conor Gallagher briefly as well? Obviously, we saw him get a couple minutes in injury time against Everton last weekend. I mean, what are your thoughts on him this season? Do you think he's going to get a decent opportunity?
Yeah, I think he'll play like the cup games, maybe the few Premier League games, but I don't see him being the ideal like double pivot. Like I
He's
don't think
not a
that's his
pivot player,
position.
is he? That's the thing.
Yeah, he's more like an advanced like 8, where he can like attack the box and maybe score or assist. Like playing a deeper role is just not his role. Like he doesn't have the defensive capabilities to do that. I think it would just like ruining his potential if he do that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think Chelsea would like to keep him, but again, if De Jong comes in, that pushes him further down the pecking order. This chance of minutes. He's obviously got himself into the England squad as well. You might be thinking there's an outside chance of an opportunity for the World Cup. He may look to move on loan elsewhere potentially for this season. But at the same time, I don't really think at 20 years of age, if he was to go out on loan again, I don't really think that's a massive issue at his age. There's plenty of time for him to succeed at Chelsea. And you think if he goes away for a season, develops his game more, Jorginho and Kante, both in the last year of their contracts, at least one of those is going to leave. That clears another bit of space in the squad. He gets closer to the starting line. They could both go. They're both going to leave in the next 2 or 3 years anyway. Gallagher will still be 22, 23 by that stage. Yeah. Like there's big opportunities here for him. So I think it's wise for Chelsea to definitely keep hold of him. But I think on a temporary basis, if he's got aspirations of somehow getting into that World Cup squad, then he's not gonna get in there if he stays at Chelsea. And I know that seems a little bit harsh, but I think that's just the reality of the situation for him. But mate, moving to this front line then. Obviously, this is like always the big debating point with Chelsea fans. I mean, we know we struggle in attack big time. Mate, what would you go with? I mean, obviously, we saw Sterling kind of start down the middle against Everton. I mean, Tuchel in I don't like to see him there. He's much better for me as an out-and-out winger or playing wide. Yes, okay, we've got a fluid line. We can interchange. You can fill in there, at different moments in the game. But he's not exactly a physical presence, if we're being totally honest. And when you got there playing the back three, when you're up against Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, and Christian Romero, Sterling's not going to get much change from them playing as a centre forward, essentially. Would you stick him right hand side or left hand side?
I prefer Raheem Sterling on the left, but I think Tuchel will just play him down the middle. Yeah. I think it's just more like balance, because I think for Sterling to be on the left mainly, we need another one on the right that's kind of like the same, like dribbler. And then obviously we have kind of like your focal point down the middle. But yeah, I mean, personally for me, I would have Sterling on the left, but I'm pretty sure Tuchel's going for him in the middle.
I think he'll play in the middle. I mean, Tuchel today was saying on Sterling, he thinks he should play in the last line or in between the defensive line to drive/run through the last line. Things are not finished. He came late. One thing is clear: the impact he has is huge, and I think that's fair, mate. How impressed have you been with Sterling since he's come in? Obviously, he's looked very good in pre-season. He was miles better than anything we've got in the attacking department, and he was so far clear of all the attackers against Everton. He was the standout performer there. I think it's a great signing, a Premier League proven player, someone that's had phenomenal success wherever he's gone, and he can make a big difference to this front line. But obviously, we do need more. I mean, how do you see him doing at Chelsea? I think he could do well this season, but again, we need more around him.
Yeah, I think he's a functional player. I don't think he's that type where he's like Hazard, where we can just give him the ball and then magic happens. I think he can kind of do that to an extent because he's a quality player, but I think he's more of like someone that works well in like a system. So like if we're gonna like cross the ball and he can get onto the end of that, or he makes runs in behind. I wouldn't want to rely on like put him in the middle and then he's like the magic man. I kind of just want him to be like his role is like the winger. He takes on players, he scores goals, creates chances. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a big plus for us in the attack. It's not going to solve all the issues, but it's certainly going to make us. It is going to make us better. It's definitely not going to make us any worse. Mate, moving to the right hand side, then obviously I don't expect Callum Hudson-Odoi to feature. Timo Werner's gone. Hakim Ziyech doesn't want to be at the club. You're sort of looking at it, and it's basically Christian Pulisic or Mason Mount, and it's obviously going to be Mount starting on that right hand side. I think obviously, didn't have a great game against Everton, but Mount always pretty much plays when he's fit. You got any concerns over Mount? Mate, I still find it astonishing that there are sections of the Chelsea fan base. I mean, again, Twitter's not the best place to go for rational views at times, but mate, are you surprised that there's still sections of the Chelsea fan base that don't rate Mount or think that Mount shouldn't be playing? I just find it astonishing.
Yeah, I think I think I'm coming to a realization that those kind of people are just doing it for the interactions and the likes.
Yeah.
So, like, they know that people will get triggered if they say, "Oh, Mount is crap, Mount's out." Yeah, I mean, I think deep down they know that he's a good player for us, and he makes things happen even though he's not playing well. So it's weird, but people want to do it for the Twitter interactions, then fairs.
I mean, mate, what do you make of him though? Because obviously last season he had a great season. 30 goals and assists, was the only attacker that actually contributed on any kind of consistent basis at all. Didn't have a great game at last time against Everton, but he's still one of our most important players on the pitch. He presses really hard, he works hard, great work rate. Yes, his finishing needs to improve, but he still posts half decent numbers, and he is pretty much an integral part of this side, isn't he?
Yeah, it's weird because he's not actually an attacker, attacking player.
I think he's an 8. His best position is an 8 for sure.
Yeah, so the fact that he's still getting these numbers, I mean, and obviously people like to say, "Oh, he's getting the numbers against Norwich," and that is true, yeah. But he's still making things, he's still making things happen.
But you look at Foden's numbers, right? Mount's got considerably better numbers than Foden, and most of Foden's numbers come against like lower half teams as well. But no one says anything. Yeah. Like it's just ridiculous. Like what goals suddenly don't count because of a certain team you scored them against. Like yes, of course you want your players to contribute in the big games. I get it, but still got to contribute in the other games to get the results. So this idea that only does it against small teams, this is a bit of a nonsense, really. I'm just not having it. But for me, he definitely starts there. Mate, what are your thoughts on briefly Christian Pulisic? Again, another guy that we spent big money for. He showed promise, but he's still young. 23 years of age? For me, it just hasn't happened. Okay, yes, I know a lot of his defenders and a lot of his fans say, "Oh, he's not given consistent minutes. He should be playing on the left, get a consistent run there. We'll see what he can do." We've seen glimpses, but again, for me, injury prone, doesn't do it on a consistent enough basis. And I think for the £60-odd million that we spent on him, we haven't received the return we expected. Where do you stand with him? I think for me, mate, this is probably going to be his last season at the club.
Yeah, I think it's going to be last. Yeah, I think last season. Yeah, I think also like Havertz as well. I'm going to give him his last season as well.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
We got to start catching up. Like we haven't won the league in ages, so if we're going to start sticking with these like Pulisic, Havertz, and sometimes Cho as well, I'm a bit concerned about him as well. We're never going to win the league, so we need quality players in. And this is their. I think this is for me. This will be their last season to step it up. If they don't step it up, then I think they've just got to go.
Yeah, no, mate, I would totally agree on that. So Sterling and Mount. I mean, obviously, this position here is obviously going to be Kai Havertz. I mean, I personally would start Brozier. I just think I know Tuchel's going to play Havertz. We all know Havertz is going to play, but this is our team, mate. I'd be more inclined to pick Brozier just because it's something different up there. It's a different profile. It's an actual number 9, young, hungry, point to prove. Still growing in the game. Physicality. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Diego Costa, but he does remind me a little bit. He's got kind of Costa sort of vibes about him. But I mean, mate, let's get to Kai Havertz. Mate, where do you stand on Kai Havertz? Obviously, guys that tune in regularly to the channel will know that, I do like Kai Havertz, but I've been saying for a long time now, the penny's got to drop for this guy. When's it happening? When's it happening? He scored a Champions League final winning goal. Yeah, great. But, we need more than that. Yes, that's great that he scored the winning goal in the final. Fantastic. But you can't just live off that for the rest of his career at Chelsea. He's coming into his third season now. He knows the Premier League. For me, though, he's not really a creator. He's not really a goal scorer. His hold-up play's not that great. He doesn't seem to do the basic things you'd expect a forward player to do, and he doesn't score anywhere near enough goals. I'm just thinking, there's obviously talent there, but this is over £70 million worth of football player, and we've essentially got hardly anything back for him. I mean, to be honest, mate, if you take away the cup final winning goals in the Club World Cup and the Champions League, has this guy been that much better than Werner? I know that might sound a bit ridiculous, but honestly, I don't think he has. Is that an outrageous thing to say? I'm not sure if it is. I just don't think he's been that much. If you take those two things away, I know it's a big if, but he's not been. Has he really been in the Premier League? Has he been that much better than Werner has? Apart from a little purple patch in sort of April, March last season, where he scored a few games on the spin, has he really been that much better?
No, he hasn't. And yeah, I think you put a good point there. He has kind of performed exactly the same as Werner. I think if you look at his numbers, I think Werner's only scored one more, obviously other way around. I'm not too sure. But yeah, he's been disappointing so far. But I think the leeway comes with Havertz because he's young, and obviously the whole final Champions League final goal, whatever. I still have faith in him. I do see potential in him. For me, he's able to get into the really good positions. His movement is really good. I think what's lacking for me is he's finishing. He's terrible.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, he doesn't hit it with power, and as well as his physicality. He gets bullied by every big defender there is in the league. So we can't really play him as a 9. He's not really a great player to play as a 10. No one really knows his position. Even I don't know his position.
Mate, that's the biggest problem, is that no one really knows what he is. We kind of stumbled across playing him as a number 9, but again, he's not really that great at that. I mean, he's obviously going to play tomorrow, but mate, as you touched on, I think for me as well, this is his last chance. If he has another season like he did last season, I think that's it. I think Chelsea have got to look at moving him on. I mean, there are reports that Bayern Munich were potentially interested as well. I just think he needs. I think we could be looking at moving this guy on next summer. I genuinely think that, and I don't like to talk badly about Chelsea players. Once you put that shirt on, whatever you've done in the past, I'll always back every player that wears the shirt. But it comes to a point where when you've paid a certain amount of money for a player, you expect some sort of a decent return on a semi-consistent basis at a minimum. And Havertz has not provided that at all. So this again is a big opportunity for him. He's never been a fast starter in seasons. He's always been slow to start, and he kind of comes on the second half of the season. We haven't got that luxury this season. He has to start the season on quickly and get some goals and improve his confidence. But mate, would you be tempted to start Brozier tomorrow? Not tomorrow, on Sunday. I mean, I personally would start him. I just think he deserves that opportunity.
I'll be open to that, Brozier. Yeah, I think he's got the physicality. If they are going to sit back, which I expect them to do, we kind of need his physicality to go up against Dyer, Ben Davies, Christian Romero. I think it'd be good. He can hold it up, and then we can have Sterling on the left, who can make runs in behind or dribble it in. But yeah, I feel like if we have Havertz there, he's just going to get thrown on the floor every single time. Yeah,
for someone that's actually quite big and reasonably bulky and whatnot, he doesn't half get flung about a bit, does he? He doesn't seem to, he very rarely wins any physical battles with centre halves. He doesn't really seem like he's up for the fight for me. For me, he just doesn't do basic things. Against Everton, he's not rolling any centre backs. His link-up play was poor. He just doesn't get involved enough in the game for me. I don't really know what we do about it, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, no, we have just talked about Brozier. Cucurella should start. Yeah, we've got him in the lineup at left centre half. Again, he could potentially start a left wing back as well, but I think he should definitely start. I wouldn't say that Mount was overrated, but we can agree to disagree on that. Havertz must go back to Germany. I think Havertz probably will go back to Germany in the next year or two if things don't dramatically improve. But yeah, mate, if you look at that lineup tomorrow, for the Sunday, you see that on the paper there. I mean, obviously Havertz or Brozier. I mean, Havertz will probably start, but give or take, that's probably going to be pretty much be the team. I mean, do you feel confident if that lineup took to the pitch on Sunday, mate? Do you think that's more than enough to get a decent result? You don't exclude, but you just never know.
Yeah, I think I don't see us scoring more than like 2 max with this team.
That's
Like,
the
I
problem.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think it'll be like a 1-0 win. Like, actually, I don't even know because like that their front line is like insanely good. Like we could
Mate,
probably concede. Yeah,
this is the problem for me, mate, as you touched on there, that you don't really think there's much more than a couple of goals in this team, which is
yeah,
why when we go a goal down, it's almost guaranteed that we're not actually going to win the game. Like
hmm
that's the big for me, mate. I worry if we concede first on Sunday. That's a big concern for me because I can't see how we score 2 goals to win. I'm not
yeah,
saying we lose, but I think if we go a goal down, the best we're going to get is a draw. I just don't see where the goals are in this side to get more than 2.
yeah,
I just can't see it, particularly against a good level of opposition. I mean, even against Everton, who were terrible, like we created absolutely nothing. Without the penalty, that's a 0-0 game. I know, obviously, we got the penalty, and it's kind of irrelevant. But do you know what I mean? We created nothing
mhm.
against Everton. Spurs are a massive improvement on Everton. Yes, we'll be more up for it because we'll be fitter. It's a London derby and whatnot. But mate, do you worry that if we go a goal down, we're not going to win this game? Because I just worry about that in general with Chelsea going a goal down. I just feel that we just haven't got the goals
Yeah,
in the team to overcome a deficit.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think that's why like our players are so scared to make the riskier pass because they don't want to lose the ball and then end up going a goal down because they just want to just keep the ball, play it safe, and they know that if they have the ball, that the opponent can't score. So yeah, I think it's I don't know how do we fix that? Like, is it like just get better attackers or I'm not too sure.
I don't really know either, mate. There's a few
Yeah.
people that are not liking Mason Mount. Take Mount off this setup because he's not in good form at the moment. He needs competition and needs to raise his game. I think
Hmm.
everyone needs to raise their game, but I mean, I don't know. What are you suggesting instead, mate? Who should play on that? Who should play there? I mean, Ziyech is not going to play there. Do you want Pulisic to play there? I mean, who do you want to play there instead? Because okay, Mount might not be in the best form, but at the end of the day, we haven't really got any viable alternatives there. Okay, what you switch Sterling to the right, play Pulisic down the left. Is Pulisic really playing any better than Mason Mount? Probably not. But yeah, mate, I think that's the lineup that we obviously go with. I mean, I think it's definitely more than good enough to get a result. I mean, mate, just one last thing to do then. I mean, what are you? This one, unfortunately, Cranky Pants, Cover is injured and is not featuring at all tomorrow. He's got a knee injury, so I don't know how long he's out for, but he is definitely missing the game on Sunday. Mate, score prediction. First game of the season at home. Imperative to get off to a winning start. Lay down a marker. It's a big game against Spurs. This is a big game in terms of context of the battle for the top 4. A lot of people tipping Spurs to actually finish above Chelsea this season. But yeah, mate, how do you see it going score wise for Sunday?
I see 2-1 at best.
Yeah.
If not, maybe just 1-1. But yeah, I'm hoping 2-1 anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I share those sentiments. I can't see us keeping a clean sheet against the likes of Kane, Son, and Kulusevski. As good as we are defensively, the reinforcements we've brought in the summer, I just think will end up scoring a goal. I just hope we can kind of get a couple. I'm never going to predict us not to win against Tottenham, but yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. I think this is one of the games where you think in recent years, this is probably Spurs' best chance they've got of actually potentially winning at Stamford Bridge. We're not in the best form. They seem to be on a bit of a high at the moment, but we always raise our game. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. But yeah, it seems like a good point to round out. Mate, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. If people want to sort of check out more of what you do, Twitter, the best place to go?
Yeah, Chelsea database. Really, my handle is my name. That's basically it.
No, perfect. Guys, make sure you do check out Chelsea Database on Twitter. Loads of great tactical analysis on players, lots of insight, loads of great threads and stuff. So please do go and check him out. Give him a follow on Twitter. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, really appreciate it. Please make sure you smash a like on the stream. There's not enough likes on it, so please smash that like button. And also, please make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. On the road to 2K subscribers now. So please do click that subscribe button. It really helps me out, really helps the channel grow, and would obviously really appreciate it as well. So smash the likes and make sure you subscribe to the channel on your way out. What we got here, not only Cucurella, but all Chelsea players are accurate. Not really sure what that means, to be perfectly honest. But the lineup. Oh, yeah. I think so, yeah. I'd agree with that. Well, of course I'd agree with it. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for your time. Chelsea Database, mate, thank you so much. Guys, please smash the like on the stream, like I said, and please click that subscribe button as well. We're on the road to 2K now, on about halfway to 1,500. So small steps, but please do make sure you click that subscribe button and smash those likes. But until then, guys, take care, enjoy the weekend, and up the show.